sharing your screen. And you definitely know this question's coming now, but what are you going to be intentional about? Your last step, what are you thinking?
First of all, I'm not going to start by sharing my screen, but I have it
Okay.
set up. And secondly, I think I'm going to be really, really intentional about like channeling the vibes. My team, we're like so excited about our idea, and it's like we have all this passion, excitement. It's like how do I channel this through to like everybody? That's my main goal, and also staying at a pace that is not lightning speed. That would be really good too. Cool. So I'm going to start now. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Richa. I'm so excited to be here. Really, really thankful for this opportunity. A little bit of background about me. I'm really passionate about the intersection between quantum computing and artificial intelligence, known as quantum machine learning. And my team is also pretty sick. Minerv's working on leveraging blockchain for supply chain transparency. Simran's crazy about all things biotech, especially in women's health. And Alicia is working on leveraging artificial intelligence for suicide prevention. So the other day, my team members and I, we were just talking about our childhood memories. And it reminded me of this book I came across a few years ago, The Handmaid's Tale. Now, TLDR on the whole book, it's basically set in a dystopia where the fertility rates are so low that the people who can reproduce, they're basically forced to be enslaved to the elite. Now, my 12-year-old self was like absolutely mortified. I couldn't even get through like half of the book before I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me. But 4 years later, after doing a little bit of research into infertility, I realized that my 12-year-old's what the hell moment could one day, very soon, become society's what the hell reality. And that too by 2045. When I first read this, I was like, there's absolutely no way that this can be it. But it's real. By 2045, half of the male population will have no sperm, and the other half will have a very small amount of sperm. But it's not going to be enough to sustain our entire population. And besides, think about it. No offense, but like, would you like to be immortalized as a species that died because they were infertile? Like, if we do have to go extinct, at least go extinct from something like vibey, like an asteroid or an alien invasion or something cool, you know? But all jokes aside from all of the genetic and biological factors that play a pretty big role in infertility, the reason for why it's declining so fast is because, firstly, women are having kids at a later age. Secondly, our lifestyles are becoming really unhealthy. And lastly, in men, the chemicals in their food, air, water, products around us, it seriously messes with your endocrine system. And it makes your body think that you're actually producing a lot more testosterone that you need. So then they're like, okay, I'm going to tone it down now. And as a result, over the last 40 years, 60% of sperm in men has decreased. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. And today, 1 in 8 couples are infertile. This number is even higher in developing countries. So upon facing infertility, most people go to in vitro fertilization or IVF. But IVF causes financial, physical, and emotional burdens. Each cycle is around $15,000, and on average, people need 2 to 3 rounds. It's extremely painful with daily injections, blood tests, medications, hormones. And after all of that hassle, only 22% actually result in a live birth. And as time goes on, this statistic will only continue to drop. The reason for why this number is so low is because IVF very heavily relies on the maturity and the health of the eggs and sperm, which is almost counterintuitive because that's usually the reason for why most couples are infertile in the first place. And so my team at Janam Labs is going to solve this problem by making babies out of skin cells. And in the future, after not being able to conceive naturally, people will still go to fertility clinics, but they won't be going for IVF. They'll be getting a skin biopsy, which would be sent to our lab. And then at our lab, using something called CRISPR activation, we're going to revert their skin fibroblasts into iPSCs. And it's almost like an undo button. And then from here, we can differentiate these iPSCs into PGCs or primordial germ cells. Think of PGCs almost like the framework for the eggs and the sperm. And then once we have the eggs and the sperm, we can place them in an artificial tissue engineered environment. And our outcome would be sperm and immature eggs. And then we can mature the eggs through a process called in vitro maturation. But what's really, really exciting about this is that PGCs, they're not restricted based on who they came from. This means that we can turn PGCs into both eggs and sperm. And this means that it opens up the possibility of same-sex couples having biological children. And then once we have the eggs and the sperm, We can send that over to a fertility clinic where they can fertilize and implant using current day IVF technology. And I know you probably think this sounds really, really far-stretched, some next Star Wars or whatever, but it's not as far away as you might think it is. Step 1, it works in humans. Step 2 works in mice, but they're still finding ways to increase efficiency in humans. Step 3, in vitro, it will take a little bit more work. Sperm can be done within the next 1 to 2 years, and eggs might take 3 or 4 years. And then step 4 and 5, it works really, really well as long as the embryo is really healthy. And based on our estimates, this entire pipeline can become commercially viable, including clinical trials on humans, within the next 8 to 10 years. Now, the way I see it, infertility, it's like this ticking time bomb. Even though it's really, really prominent, no one really talks about it. With other problems like climate change, we know it's a problem. Everybody knows it, but we also know that somewhere somebody's working on it. We have some plans. It's not the same with infertility. And the question that I have for you is, what's the point of solving any other problem if humanity won't even exist? Thank you. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Cool. Thanks, Richa. A lot of technical depth there to sort of go through, but does anyone want to start us off with a question?
I've got a philosophical one, which maybe it's not philosophical, who knows? Which is, why focus on the adaptive answer versus the mitigative answer? If we know that there are things that we're doing to our lives that are reducing sperm count or whatever, why don't we tackle those issues as opposed to be like, okay, forget sperm altogether and we're going to work with skin cells now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The reason for why we are tackling, this more reactive approach is because if you look at all of the different causes for why we have infertility, firstly, there's a whole biological aspect. We like me-seed it for men, me-seed it for women. There's so many different problems. And you take PCOS for women that affects 1 in 8. There's like so many different causes. So it's like, if you went only the biological, there's like 100 different things you have to tackle. Each of them has 100 more causes with the whole plastics and thing. That's like, there's just so many different things that you would have to tackle if you went the proactive route, that it wouldn't be worth it.
I'm not as smart as Dr. Lacerda. You need to break that down into layman's terms. Like, explain it to me like you would as if you were pitching an investor whose background has been business development, sales channels, etc.
Okay. Here, let me
reel it back.
Reel back. Okay. Yeah. So basically, there's a couple different factors that affect infertility. So firstly, it's the whole biological aspect, and then we broke it down into male and female. If you look at the male side of things, there's 2 main problems. It's the fact sperm production, and then even if once you can produce it, then it's transportation. Each of them has like 10 different causes. And then within those causes, there's like even more sub causes, and that's only the biological. In the female, there's even more problems. There's like endometriosis that affects like the uterine lining, and there's uterine fibroids, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. There's so many biological causes, which each have lots of things. So it's like, if we want to tackle all of that, that would be a lot. But then it's like, okay, fine. Other than the biological stuff, what else can we, tackle? It's like the toxins or the environment. It's the same concept. There's just so many things in so many different industries that affect this, that if we were to eventually do it, we'd probably die by then. And people are kind of working on it, but it's not fast enough. Yeah.
I just want to throw out, I thought that was a wonderful presentation. I would be, with proper due diligence, I would be keen on investing in such an idea. I'm of the age where many of my peers have had to go through the process you're describing, and it's exactly as painful for all the reasons as you rightly pointed out. My question, as I think Kim pointed out earlier, is where would you begin in this? You pointed out sort of 5 links in a chain of R&D. Where would you begin, or would we simply be waiting for the inevitable? What value can you add to this process?
Yeah, so Manrup, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, for sure. I can take this one. So essentially, we have kind of our map planned out for where we would have to go from here. Right now, we want to start with, so as Richa mentioned before, iPSC, creating iPSC cells, it's completely possible right now. It's been proven, it's been really effective, right? And from there, the next step that we need to figure out is the iPSC to PGC. It has been proven to be effective in mice, but we need to work on that step in order to ensure like it can be highly effective in humans as well. And that's kind of where we want to focus next. And like Richa also mentioned in the pitch as well, the process of creating sperm will be possible within 1 to 2 years. Like there's a lot of hypotheses out there and it's being tested, it's being validated right now. And we're in that entire process of validating that. So we want to start with focusing on the sperm production because it's much easier in comparison to the actual egg maturation process. And Alicia, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so I know that in Ruby tackled more of the scientific things, but in terms of actually implementing this on a scalable level, because I know right now, this research has been going on for 20 years, but we don't have it to a point where we can get this at labs. This has been done before 1 or 2 times, but how do we actually make this something that's scalable? And for us, that first starts off with building our lab out and building out a lab, in a city hereby in Toronto, that's basically going to be our first step. If we have money, if we get invested, then secondly, we would go about hiring research and graduate students and people specifically from the United States, because fertility clinics over there are really regulated in comparison to Canada, where it's not really regulated, and more PhD students would love to come here. After that, we would run our lab and we would really just specifically focus on developing the eggs and the sperm. That's really all our job's going to be. Once we've developed them, we would, freeze the eggs and we would do genetic testing in order to make sure the embryo can actually successfully lead to a pregnancy. And after that, our job is basically done through sending it back to an IVF clinic for all the other procedures to go. And basically, our procedure itself, it will first of all make the process so much more easier, but not only than that, the success rates will just increase by a whole ton, because mainly the issue of why IVF doesn't really work is because of the embryo, the egg and sperm quality.
Yeah, I would just add on one thing to that really quickly. The reason why we would focus on sperm first, like my team member says, is because it's really easy, right? But the thing with that is also we don't need a very, very high quality sperm, right? The sperm can be mid-par quality because what they do when they fertilize, they even like in ICSI, which is like a fertilization method, they cut off the tail of the sperm anyways. So we just need the DNA matrix of the sperm. So this is why we would focus on sperm first, because we can do it. And then there's lots of problems with producing sperm. Some men can't produce sperm and all of that. And especially with couples that we have the eggs ready and the eggs are able to be retrieved, but we just don't have the sperm for the male partner.
And what would the timeline be if you could produce the sperm? Presumably you could enable fertility in couples where sperm alone is the problem. What do you estimate the timeline is between now and then?
Yeah, I can take that. So first, the skin to iPSC process is 2 weeks, and then the next process is 6 days, and then there's 3 weeks, and then 5 days, and then 2 weeks after that. So it's a total of, I would say, like 7 to 8 weeks to just generate sperm after we get a skin biopsy from the patient, because we need to go through culturing processes and incubation, and also pre-genetic testing for the sperm to make sure it's viable.
Hold on, sorry, 1 second. Was that the question, or were you wondering like timeline until this is actually in the market?
Correct, the latter, yeah.
So because all of us have only been like diving deep into this space for 4 weeks, we talked to a lot of experts who kind of helped us with those, actually like figuring out those timelines. So after talking to them, we figured out that the viability of sperm being commercialized could be possible in approximately 2 years. Yeah.
Just to jump in here, first of all, awesome science. Again, I'm a cell biologist, so this is awesome. Great job with your research, was right on point. Awesome presentation as well. The one caveat though, cell culture is expensive. As soon as you start talking iPS cells, the cost pretty much doubles. So early on in your presentation, you mentioned about $15,000 for one cycle. How assuming the science works, how about monetary? How would that play a role here?
Yeah, so with the cost, that was one of our things, right? We want to make sure that the cost is low enough so people can still afford it. Our estimations, it varies based on what the problem is. So if it's, Minurp, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we said if it was sperm, we said around 25K. If it was eggs, it was around 30K. And if it was both of them, then it would probably be around 55K, which is still very expensive. But another thing that we also wanted to keep in mind was like, if you are doing IVF, and you're doing multiple rounds, people actually do up to 8 rounds. So it's like 15 times 8, right? So it's like, even though our thing is going to be one-time very heavy investment, it still might equal out in comparison to doing IVF multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Especially because our efficiency rate is much higher than IVF would be, right? So one round of IVF is 22% of IVF results in a live birth. So when you think about efficiency and price, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I love the idea, but I'm also very big on accessibility, because there's a difference between availability and accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned too that fertility is prominent in developing countries. So if you're talking about $15,000, let's say, that's multiply that by many times for developing countries. But again, it's not an issue necessarily. It's a science issue. The science is expensive, but do keep that in mind. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I have a comment on that. Two things. Firstly, I think I meant to say developed countries. It's higher in developed countries, not developing. So that might have been my bad. And the second thing as well is actually a lot of the solutions around fertility right now, they're working on how to, the whole line is democratizing fertility. So it's like, how can we speed it up? How can we like make it faster? There's a company, Overture. They came out about a year ago, and they're like automating the whole IVF thing. So they automated it into a machine. It gets the cost like down 5 times. So another kind of hypothesis that we haven't accounted for in the cost, it's like, yeah, we have making these germ cells, they're very expensive, but like hopefully by that point, just the fertilization process will be a lot cheaper. That's our hypothesis as well. So that's something awesome. Yeah.
Last comment for me. Not sure if you connected with him already, but Dr. Mick Bhatia at McMaster University, he works with IPS cells. So if you're looking for someone else, he would be a great resource.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do we have one last question? We're good. Everyone's feeling good. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that is it then. That is all of our presentations. So I think we are going to open up a breakout room for our judges to hop into. Everyone else can hang out here.
And one quick thing before we do that, we have one of our awards, which is our People's Choice Award. So we have a poll that I'm going to launch in just a second. Judges, you're not involved in this. Obviously, you get to decide on all the other awards, so you guys you'll go in the room. But everyone else who is still here, including even the people that presented, just hang back for 1 second, and we'll quickly get that poll through. And then, of course, you can take a bit of a break until the judges are done deliberating.
Awesome. Okay, I'll just build one room, right, Kim?
Yeah, sure. You can probably open the same ones as long as they don't automatically throw. And then presenters just don't go anywhere.
Okay, we're gonna open them back up. I think some people are gonna get pushed into the wrong room, so you'll just open up breakout rooms and move into the correct room. But I'll just,
I'll just turn off the automatically move. There we go. And only the judges need to go anywhere. Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. This should be okay. Okay. Well, anyways, we'll see you back in a little bit. Judges, be with me, and we'll have a quick conversation.
Sweet. And everyone else that is still here, let me just get this poll launched. I'm going to just pause the recording for a second.
Feedback for everyone, and then we will jump into our awards. And Jess, I can't see her actually on my screen. There you are. Oh, sorry. And Jess, I was just introducing you to give us some feedback whenever you're ready.
Yes, perfect. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. So first of all, great job, everybody. Just a general feedback is make sure do spend a lot of time on the science and the technical feasibility. At surface, some of the ideas might seem possible, but then if you dig into the science, you'll see like, there's a reason why this is not possible. But that being said, don't make sure you do the digging, because otherwise innovation wouldn't happen, right? If you give up that easily. But do pay a lot of attention to the technical feasibility of things. And second, make sure you also pay attention to the market. As someone that has done this before, I built a technology that I thought was great, it was solving many issues. Then it turns out no one cared, because although the problem exists, at the end of the day, to be a business, you have to make money. That's a business, otherwise it's a charity. So just make sure you do that as well. And also data is always important, and also breaking down your large goals into smaller goals. And Adam touched base on this a lot. So just make sure that you focus at a time. So when you have your plan and when you're presenting to potential investors, for example, make sure you clearly break down, this is the very first step. And this is our stage gate. So in business, we use a lot of stage gate decisions. And this is what was missing here a little bit. Yeah, but other than that, it was great. Good job.
Awesome. Thanks, Andressa. And so we'll go one at a time through the awards, starting with Sammy, who's going to announce our X award winner.
Just want to echo what Andressa mentioned. Super job, everyone. This is really enlightening for me and then the judging panel as well. Just want to now announce the X award winner as Nima. Congratulations.
Nice. Nima, very well done. So Bhagavan, that was your team. And of course, our X award was Thinking 10X, the Google X award, Thinking the Most 10X. The second award we're going to give out is our TED award. So Adam's got to run, but he's sticking overtime with us, which we're super appreciative about.
Yeah, no, you guys are amazing. I'm like totally floored and thoroughly impressed, but you all know that. Don't let it get to your head. Anyways, the TEDx award definitely goes to Aero Pure. That was a heartfelt presentation. You can tell that you cared about what you were talking about, that you're doing what's super important when pitching investors, which is hitting an emotional need and not just saying it, but also showing it. So good job. But
nice.
Sorry, everyone, I got to jump, but awesome. And I'm available. You can get in touch with me. I'm happy to talk about any of these ideas in the future. Take care. Peace.
Okay, thanks so much, Adam. So yes, that was Samantha's team with AeroPure. Thanks so much, guys, for Samantha. Well done, just generally on the presentation. And so last, we're gonna go to Phil for our overall winner.
Thank you for inviting me. The wonderful presentations all around. I really enjoyed it. Best overall winner, and I heard best people's choice as well. Wonderful presentation, done with personality, very practical, very thoughtful, very well researched, was Janam Labs.
Yeah, so well done, Janam Labs. We spent a couple minutes in the judges' room actually just talking about a couple of those presentations. Well, I mean, them all collectively, and how you guys are making us all feel like we need to go and study and work a little bit harder in our lives. So across the board, I'm super excited for everything you guys got to accomplish. And if I had any sort of like final thoughts for everyone who presented today and everyone who worked on this Moonshot project, it's to like really think about the experience you just had. This was 4 weeks. That is a drop in the ocean when it relates to people who are actually trying to change the world and make these differences. So if you got this far in 4 weeks, even as Andressa said, some of these ideas might not actually end up working. Some of these ideas might have holes in them that you might have missed, but that's okay, because you have so much time in your lives. You are time billionaires that you could go out and make these differences in the world. And if you enjoyed this process, if you were inspired by this process, if you were angered by this process by figuring out all these things that are going on in the world that no one's actually working on right now, like this is your chance. Like take these projects forward right now with what you have, but also keep working on things. Don't stop innovating. All of the things obviously we talked about here at TKS. So with that in mind, I'll leave it quickly for Kim for any closing comments, but if you do have a chance as well to connect with our judges, I know Adam mentioned it, they're here today. So if you can get them on LinkedIn or whatever it may be, feel free to do that as well. And just congrats overall. You guys are done, 4 weeks in the books, and now only a couple weeks left of TKS.
Yeah, so many great things said already. I'm not going to add too much, but just again, congratulations. Like give yourselves a pat on the back. You worked very hard. One thing I just want to remind you is to not lose this 10x thinking, not lose this ability to really think outside the box and really ride that line of absurdity. Oftentimes, and definitely as you go through, whether it be your university career or into your first jobs, it is going to be a constant force to always stay within what is rational and currently possible today. But the way that we move everything forward is having those sort of crazy ideas, but then of course, backing them up with research and science and economic incentives. So remind yourself of the way that you thought during this time and continue to push those boundaries. Thanks to all the
Perfect. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. All of our judges, thanks so much. And we will see you guys soon, hopefully.
Awesome.
Hey, guys. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
See ya.